Let us begin this transmission by reminding you that the title is Let's Get High. Now, this is meaning in the word high, capital H period, capital I period, capital G period, capital H period. And we would now like to explain what this is all about. In the changes that are now taking place in your society and around your world, and as we continue through the passageway that we have called the eye of the needle, where you are going to go through whatever process is necessary to divest yourself of the belief systems that no longer align with who you prefer to be, and let them go so that you can accelerate through this passageway toward the new beginning of the window of open contact in your year of 2023. We would like to share with you a state of being that is important for you to generate for yourselves as often as possible, every day, if possible, that will help you slip through this passage more easily and deal with whatever it is that comes up during this time. So let us begin to explain what this high vibrational formula actually represents. It is different emotional states, different energy states in this one word, represented by these four letters. That is a particular formula or equation of energy that will allow you to remain grounded, but at the same time allow your consciousness to expand in very specific ways that will see you through any challenges that may come up as you move forward through this passageway. The first H stands for honesty. It is of critical importance in this time for you to express the idea of honesty in your lives. Now, of course, we are talking about the idea in general of not necessarily telling lies, although that's not really what the idea of this honesty state of being is about. It's more about being honest with yourselves in your deep investigations of your belief systems, not ignoring, not glossing over, but allowing yourself to be truly honest about your motivations, what you believe to be true, so that you can become much more transparent within yourself and have more ease in discovering the belief systems that may be out of alignment with who you truly prefer to be, and thus the belief systems and definitions that may be holding you back from moving forward as swiftly, as smoothly, as effortlessly as you possibly could. So, in the sense of this honesty, it is about know thyself, self-examination, not being afraid to dig deeply, dive deeply within your own mental ability to assess yourself, to be all right with discovering the fears that may exist within your belief systems. In other words, not being afraid to be afraid, and knowing yourself more clearly, more truly, and allowing yourself then to let go of those things that do not allow you to perpetuate that clarity, that honesty of your own being, and presenting yourself in the world that way as the honest, true self. Of course, we understand that it is also about the idea of not necessarily telling falsehoods, although we do understand that there can be circumstances in your reality where what you call little white lies might actually be the kindest thing you can do. But also it's about being honest within yourself to know what your relationships are, what is appropriate for you to communicate to yourself and to others in your relationships with other people on your planet, so that you will know the difference between something that you're saying that may not be what you truly, actually, factually observe, but are being able to relate a kindness to someone, to soften something for them because you understand they are looking to be handled gently, handled kindly. And so we understand that we're not really referring to the idea of not necessarily telling the whole truth to someone that you may feel, but it's also an opportunity to get in touch with why you do feel or believe that way. So that again, in clarifying yourself, you may then find yourself not so often in situations where you might be forced to say something that might not be wholly true, but would be necessary in order to impart a kindness to someone by not being, shall we say, so completely honest with them about what you feel in that moment, but being more honest with yourself about why you feel the way that you do, giving yourself a chance to clarify that for yourself so that it may become completely unnecessary for you to say the things or be in the situations where you're forced to say the things that might be those little white lies in order to impart kindness to someone who has asked you a question or exploring something with you. The second letter is integrity, I for integrity. And this again amplifies the idea of being a holistic being, true to yourself, having your own understanding of your ethical standards, your own concept of the morals, and allowing yourself to stick with them, of not having contradictory or conflicting belief systems within yourself that allow you to act one way in one situation and a completely different way as a different person in another situation, but maintaining the integrity of what you believe to be true about yourself so that you move forward in a holistic way, not split, not in conflict, not necessarily presenting more than one identity or one face to others so they can understand more clearly and more transparently who you truly are, so that they will understand who they are really in a relationship with. So you're not fooling them or faking them out or changing your mind every other second to confuse people as to what you stand for and who you are. Having the integrity to be integral, to be allowing all of the aspects of your being to function harmoniously, harmonically, synchronistically with themselves, so that you present yourself to yourself and to the world as a particular frequency that is representative of your truth, who you truly are, and not creating confusion and the idea of misunderstanding and misrepresentation and misinterpretation about what it is you do stand for in your life, in the world, what is really the truth for you, after an honest self-examination of honesty and getting to the core of who you are and what you really need, and letting go of those fear-based beliefs that may cause confusion within you and confusion within others about who they are dealing with. So we have the idea of the honesty within the self, the integrity to move forward as the true self with all components and aspects of consciousness in alignment. And then we move to the G, which stands for gratitude. To have honesty, integrity, and gratitude for your life, for who you are, for your existence. For that is the true core of what you call prayer, is simply being in deep appreciation and deep gratitude for what is and who you are, and even the things that may manifest in your life as the challenges, as the things you may not necessarily objectively prefer, and still knowing that they are there manifesting for a reason that can serve you, to be always in a state of appreciation and gratitude for what is in your life, not focusing on what isn't in your life, as we have said before in the AAA formula of acknowledging what is there, not what is not there, allowing it to move forward after you have given it deep appreciation for being there, because you know you can use it in whatever way is necessary to enhance your life in a positive way, to get a benefit out of it. Therefore, it doesn't really matter what it is. So be appreciative and grateful in a state of gratitude for everything that manifests, for where you're at and what you've learned and how you can move forward by taking those lessons with you, not so much dwelling on the past, but being in the present so that you can move forward into your future in a way, again, that brings the honesty and integrity with you as you remain in a state of gratitude and appreciation for who you are and what you are experiencing in this physical reality that you have chosen to explore. And then Finally, in this formula, the final H, which, as some of you may be surprised to learn, stands for humility. The idea of remaining grounded as you expand your consciousness. The idea of allowing yourself to rely on the obvious and to not necessarily allow yourself to become too enamored with your expansion. Allowing yourself to remain on a level where you are relatable, where you can, in a sense, allow others to be able to interact with you in a way where you are approachable, where you can interact, where you are an inviting individual in that sense, not pushing anything on anyone, not necessarily needing anyone to know anything in particular about whatever gift you have to give. For there will always be an audience if you have a gift to give. That is absolutely certain, or you wouldn't be excited about the gifts that you are giving from yourself. But the idea is to remain grounded and humble with the things that you are giving out, that you are sharing, that you are being. Stay centered, stay focused within yourself, and know that the importance is simply being the reflection and the mirror for others, to allow them to be of service to them, to allow them to become more of who they are through their interactions with you, for that is the core of every relationship, no matter what kind, is to be there for the other, to allow them to become more of themselves, even as they ideally choose to do that for you. So in remaining humble, in humility, you can, as equals, move forward, none being greater or more valid than any other, and allowing yourself then, with the idea of honesty, integrity, gratitude, and humility, to form a particular bubble state of being, a particular formula of vibrational frequencies and energies that will carry you through in a very sacred way through the months and years to come, and allow you to slip more smoothly through this passage, through the eye of the needle, so that eventually you can emerge as a being that is in synchronous harmony with itself, with all life around it and within it, and allow yourself to be known for who you truly are, so that none have to fear that you have any particular outside agenda or hidden agenda about expressing yourself and your creativity and your passion in the world, but that you do so only to give the gifts you have to share, to be of service to others, and to be your true self, so that all know who you are, who they're in a relationship with, and can benefit from the reflections that you give as the mirror in whatever relationships you form, thus inviting others to do the same for you. So with honesty, with integrity, and with gratitude and humility, we will extend to each and every one of you our deepest appreciation and unconditional love in moving forward together in harmony with us, being that is your choice, of course. And at this particular point, in gratitude for allowing us to share this idea, this state of being in this little formula, which is very powerful, with all of you, I ask, in what way now may we be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and comments so that we may share moving forward together.
Interesting times now, because there's a lot of
always living. They're just differently interesting.
Right. The idea that we can't agree about what is true in a sense. So there's a couple of different areas where this is showing up. One is in the idea of science. Even though we've advanced very far technologically, many people do not believe in science, and it causes a conflict with those that do.
Yeah.
What can you say to us about knowing how to deal with that?
Well, again, you're not only experiencing the idea of different beliefs, but you might even be experiencing the idea of different realities, literally. So some people simply may not have a perception of the reality that another person has. However, in a lot of those cases, the idea simply comes from what we have just said, that there may be no real honesty in their self-investigation in terms of their belief systems. They may have great fear or have been trained to have fear as a reaction to certain things because of the definitions that they've been taught to attach to those things and what it means about the person, who may feel powerless, who may feel uneducated, who may feel unworthy, who may feel less than, so that they're unwilling to explore things that would put them in touch with the fear-based belief systems that they're attempting to avoid. So this is why, again, it's so very important to have this great honesty in your self-evaluation, because most people will generally find, if they are willing to investigate themselves deeply with great honesty and integrity, that they have simply been afraid to allow certain ideas into their lives because of what they think it means about them if they do so, or that they may find themselves unable to cope and find themselves lacking or wanting for being a more expanded consciousness. So there will be a lot of avoidance of things in a variety of ways, and I'm not just necessarily talking about one side or the other. This can happen in any particular direction. And again, this is why it's so important to have great honesty and a willingness to explore why someone might reject something, or why someone might hold on to an idea a little bit harder than they otherwise might. It's always going to start with the idea of honest investigation of what you believe to be true in relation to that thing about yourself and your self-worth.
So also in the area of conspiracy theories, a lot of people are attracted to that. And is the idea that if someone is focused, highly focused on conspiracy theories, that they will generate that reality for themselves?
Of course. In fact, that's what conspiracy theories rely on.
Because are they generally negative beliefs, conspiracy theories?
Well, you can really call anything a conspiracy in the broadest sense of the term, as long as more than one person goes along with the idea, whether it's positive or negative. That's just a general idea, because the original root word conspire simply means to breathe together, to have the same ideas, to have the same thoughts that reinforce one another, and to move in a certain direction with more than just yourself, with other people who are conspiring with you to move in that direction. But there can be positive conspiracies and negative conspiracies. So the idea, again, comes down to, are these based on fear-based beliefs, or are they based on love-based beliefs, joy-based beliefs, empowering beliefs or disempowering beliefs, beliefs that allow you to feel you are being controlled or manipulated or pushed in a certain direction that may not necessarily be to your benefit, or whether they are allowing you more freedom to choose and expand your consciousness as you see fit.
So when people use that term, going down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
how would you describe, what is that? Is that like falling into a belief that you can't verify is true and then allowing that to become your guiding principle?
It can be. The term falling down the rabbit hole usually means that once you have locked into a particular belief system, especially one that might be actually fundamentally negative, it's going to spiral you downward energetically in such a way to make it more challenging to find your way out of it. Because again, it's not necessarily going to be the kind of belief system that gives you the freedom to know you can choose other belief systems. You become locked into a particular belief system energy, and the negative ones make it much more challenging to know that there's even a chance of finding your way out.
So what is like mind control? Is there such a thing, and why are people thinking they're susceptible to mind control?
Well, again, when an individual has an incredible lack of self-worth, they always look to some other authority to define their life for them. And because they feel abandoned or lost without that kind of authoritative input, they feel like they are adrift or disconnected without someone else to guide them. They will usually swallow anything that comes along that makes them feel as if someone is going to give them a purpose which they have been unable to give themselves.
Okay, so if you're trying to discern between censorship versus community, self-governing behavior, let's call it that, what is a good way to determine whether your beliefs or your positions are being censored, or if it's simply an idea of the greater good and whether or not a certain way of speaking might be inciting violence?
Yes. Well, some of this also will come down to the actual physical, or shall we say, sociological laws that you have instituted as part of your society. Some of it will be determined based on the laws you have created for yourselves to guide yourselves. Some of it will be based, again, on the clear understanding of what it is that you're actually connecting to within yourself and whether that energy is mechanically positive or negative. So, again, it's about having the awareness, the wherewithal, the clarity, the discernment, the compass within yourself to understand when you are sharing information in alignment with what you typically refer to as the greater good, or whether you are actually going against the grain, against the flow of your true self, and disguising it maybe as the idea of the greater good. But again, real honesty would be able to tell the difference.
Okay. Thank you. That's very clarifying.
All right.
There's some questions about the galactic world.
Yeah.
One question is, what is the Interstellar Alliance, and is it different from the Galactic Federation of Worlds?
Not necessarily. Again, it's a loose reference to a collective of a number of civilizations, and there are actually several. So one thing may call itself, in your language, a interstellar alliance, as we often do. Sometimes other galactic, shall we say, gatherings or collectives may refer to themselves as a different term, a collective, a federation, what have you, a council. It really doesn't matter overall, although it is important to recognize that there may be different collectives within even your galaxy.
Now, one person mentioned that in their heart they feel like in galactic life there's no need for alliances or federations. In other words, that the vibrational level is higher, and so what we perceive as a documented group or something is actually on a spirit level more about connecting vibrationally to beings of a similar ilk.
Yes, we don't have the idea of hierarchical governments in the way that many people on your planet think of it. So, yes, sometimes you might impose the human concept of hierarchies and certain kinds of organizational principles on what we refer to as an interstellar alliance, when in fact it is, as our civilization is, based more on simple synchronism, where like vibration works with like vibration very automatically and synchronistically, and simply recognizes that there is a commonality of overall vibration among a particular gathering or group of individuals or civilizations. It's nothing absolutely formal. There can sometimes be certain gatherings and so on and so forth that might represent the idea or sharing of a different direction or a new idea, and the others get to decide whether they align with it or not. But the idea simply is it's much looser than you might think. It's more based on synchronism and knowing how things work than it is in imposing a particular formal structure on these civilizations.
So, how far is your ship right now above Sedona?
About 3,000 of your mile.
Okay, and you did mention something earlier about the window of contact. Has the window of contact changed?
Well, yes. We have mentioned that because of certain changes going on now in your global society, whereas the beginning of the window of contact used to be your year of 2025, it is now 2023, so 2 years earlier.
And this just happened recently?
Yes.
Okay. And I know you interact with a lot of civilizations. So are there any names that you can share with us that other civilizations call you?
Call us?
Yes, you specifically, I think.
generally, although there are some exceptions here and there, depending upon their culture, you will find that in whatever way they communicate, whatever language they may use, or telepathic understanding they may have, most of them refer to us in some way, shape, or form as the halfways, or the messengers.
Now, one person had a dream where they were surrounded by Essassani beings and they were told that they're getting a promotion and that it would involve a lot more responsibility. And the person felt a lot of fear about whether they could accept that level of responsibility. Could you give us an idea of maybe what the interpretation of that kind of a dream would be?
Well, in a sense, it's kind of like saying, here is a reflection of more of your own true energy. Do you have a belief system that allows you to know you are capable of handling it and expressing it in a positive and responsible way? So it's sort of like presenting someone with their potential and finding out where their belief system is relative to the potential they're being shown to see if they're ready to flow that potential through themselves. They don't have to be, but it's a good marker to show them where they're at with respect to their understanding and belief system about their ability to flow the energy they're being presented with, to be more of themselves.
All right, these questions have to do with metaphysics. What of them having to do with why do we cross-connect to other lives and then interpret that as being a quote-unquote past life? And how does that influence us when we make a cross-connection to another life?
Well, you're always sort of gathering information that you may need to inform your own experience here in this life. So the idea of connecting to other beings in what you call different time frames has a lot to do with how you actually create your physical reality anyway. Remember that, as we said, the idea that you experience space and time are illusionary side effects of your consciousness shifting through billions of parallel frames of reality every single second. So because you're shifting through different frames of parallel realities anyway to create the idea of your physical space-time reality experience, you're automatically connecting and disconnecting with different beings, different versions of yourself and other beings in these different parallel realities to inform the track you're on based on the themes you chose to explore and the challenges that you chose to face in this life. So you're drawing from a number of sources to aid and assist you. It's sort of similar to the idea of your internet in that if you need a particular piece of information, you will Google it. So it's really no different than saying, well, I need a certain kind of experiential inspiration right now, and since that already exists in a parallel reality, instead of having to learn it from scratch, why not just tap into it and download that information so I'll automatically, synchronistically get the inspiration to move forward in the way that I need to, so I don't necessarily have to go through a longer process than I need at this particular moment.
Okay. And this is an interesting question, the idea of electrons in our auric field.
Yes,
and
yes.
whether or not the people we're attracted to energetically may be out of balance in a number of electrons, and we're out of balance in a number of electrons, and that's where attraction is created? Is that accurate?
Well, yes and no. It can be used that way. It's one way in which you can interpret the idea of the electron field that is just above your skin and part of the auric field around your body electromagnetically. But depending upon the spin rate of those electrons will determine many different things, including possibly, potentially, in certain cases, ideas of attraction or even ideas of repulsion. Just depends on how they're spinning, what rate they're at, the rate of spin, the direction of spin, can be included in the overall vibrational sensing that you get in terms of whether or not it is important for you or germane or relevant for you to interact in certain situations with other people.
So does each version of us have a different higher self?
Yes. Because remember, the idea of a being, a person, so to speak, in the classical sense of a part of a consciousness experiencing physical reality is what goes hand in hand with that. What is automatically contained in the kit is the non-physical higher self that guides that particular personality. And that means you also, for each person, have a particular individual soul. because it's the soul that diversifies itself into the non-physical higher mind to guide the physical mind having the physical experience. Where it gets more blended together is in the idea of the oversoul, from which many singular souls can extend, and each individual soul thus creating a higher mind and a physical mind for that particular physical incarnational experience. But the oversoul can simultaneously experience all of that if it wishes to.
So when we were originally hybridized by the Anunnaki,
Yes.
what changes did they make to us that were some positive and some negative that are still with us today that we're dealing with?
It is highly likely you would not have the religious structure that you have in certain religious organizations if you didn't have that experience, because what was instilled in the genetic makeup at that time was the idea that you are required to rely on the idea of an authority figure as an intermediary between you and your connection to all that is. Therefore, that's what the religious construct is all about. Not the spiritual construct, but the religious construct of an organization that acts as a go-between between you and your connection to all that is, whereas the spiritual one does not require, as you would say, a middleman.
Did they suppress our DNA in certain ways to make us feel disconnected from Source?
To some degree, because they needed to impose themselves as the Source. Now, those markers are there, and they're opening up, and you are realizing more and more that you have your own connection because you are reflections of Source. So the idea really was relatively temporary, and when the Anunnaki left and left you on your own to your own devices, and some of the more positive ones came back to guide you a little bit here and there, they knew that over time, because of the different cycles on the earth and the idea of the expansion of consciousness in general, that those markers would probably drop away or turn back on in a way that would allow you more recognition of yourselves as reflections of Source, not necessarily requiring the so-called middleman or authority figure anymore to determine your relationship to all that is.
Okay, and lastly, on the idea of nature, is there an ET civilization that preserves animals that are being made extinct by humans? And
Yes.
is there any? Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Oh,
Yes.
that's so great. Now, where are they? They just preserve the DNA?
Sometimes they preserve the DNA and regrow the animals or the foliage, the trees. Sometimes they take whole animals to that world, transport them there. You, as a human society, would rarely miss many dozens of animals of a particular species, because you're simply not always that in touch with how many of them there actually are anyway. So I will tell you that maybe not absolutely all, but just about all animal species that have ever existed on your planet, and all plant species and flower species that have ever existed on your planet still exist on other worlds because they have been taken there in one form or another.
That is so exciting. And that means that, can that be used like to terraform other planets?
It can and often is.
Oh my goodness. That makes me feel better.
Part of that was used to create our world.
That's right, because you have species that are similar to ours in certain ways.
Now, evolution has taken some of them in different directions because our planet is different and the environment is different and so on and so forth. But we do have some that actually are almost identical to some of the species on your planet, because again, they have been seeded there for the purpose of creating a full ecosystem. Since some beings and creatures and animals and trees and flowers and so on and so forth have certain abilities, it's like sort of saying, why reinvent the wheel if they already will fit into a new ecosystem to provide that particular function to allow the ecosystem to thrive. So it's kind of like waste not, want not.
So before the humans were hybridized here, what was the Earth like? Is it like we were told about dinosaurs and,
Well, it depends on what area you're talking about. I mean, you have, as scientists, a relatively good idea in general of the different epochs that existed on your planet and what kind of life forms existed in them. You are missing some pieces, but not too many. But you're learning more about that. But again, remember, the idea of the hominids that existed before the Anunnaki injected their DNA were not human in the sense that you understand it. They were humanoid or human-like hominids, but not actually Homo sapiens. It took the Anunnaki genetics to turn the hominid that existed naturally on your planet, that evolved naturally on your planet, into what you now consider yourself to be as Homo sapiens, as human beings.
So interesting, the timing of the beings that they chose to use to hybridize would all be dependent on the level of evolution that we had achieved at that particular stage.
In some senses, yes, although there was quite a wide window there, because remember, they visited your planet several hundreds of thousands of years ago. So there was quite a long window of the idea of humanoid or hominid species existing on your planet for millions of years before they arrived. They knew it might be likely that they might find such life because of what you call panspermia, where different kinds of genetic material, DNA, is delivered to different planets on comets and asteroids and meteors. And thus it is not uncommon in certain sections of the galaxy to find somewhat similar life on a variety of planets, even though there may be vast differences. Certain sections are seeded in certain ways, and therefore there are clusters of planets within the galaxies when they are capable of harboring life that have some similarity between them, whereas in other clusters there may be a very different kind of life that was seeded from a different source altogether in the galaxy. But you will find that the idea of certain similarities exist not just on individual isolated planets, but on clusters of planets within the galaxy because of the way in which certain genetic material from different kinds of beings was spread throughout the galaxy.
So what is the purpose of viruses, and are they conscious?
Everything is made of consciousness. That doesn't mean that they are self-aware in the same way that you are. The basic purpose, actually, there are a multitude of purposes. Some of them are for the purpose of maintaining the physiological genetic strength of a species and removing those that aren't necessarily strong, so they can vacuum up the genetics in a way that can be reintroduced in a way that a new species can use them to maintain strength by becoming used to the idea of the way that the virus uses the DNA material and becoming immune to the negative effects over time. So viruses fundamentally strengthen the entire population by weakening or taking out the weakened ones.
And they spur us to make new advances in our technology.
Yes.
So
now there's much more to them than that, but we're not going to go deeply into that now because that's a very large topic.
Okay. Just lastly, what is the distinction between elementals and nature spirits?
Not much. The idea in general is that just and so here we go. Bring up your music, bring up your lights, whatever it is you wish to do, relax, be comfortable, and allow yourselves to remember what we have said about HIGH. Honesty, integrity, gratitude, and humility. These discrete concepts have their own frequencies, and allow yourself to begin to feel those frequencies, and especially in perceiving with your imagination the different frequencies in each of those concepts, honesty, integrity, gratitude, and humility, allow yourself to understand that they are of a type, of a nature, where their frequencies combine into a very specific harmonic that sort of creates an energy bubble around you, a state of being that can carry you forward like its own reality bubble. This is specifically an orchestration, like music, these four energy states combining in a harmonic in the way that they do. So allow yourselves to feel each one as we go through them once again. Allow yourself to feel the vibration, the clarity that comes with honesty of self, of knowing thyself, as you say, of investigating deeply the being that you are, the beliefs that you hold to be true, and generating the ability of greater discernment to tell the difference between excitement and anxiety, to know which beliefs are really true for you and which are born out of fear instead. Do not be afraid to be afraid in this investigation of self-honesty. The deeper you go, the higher you will go, the more expanded you will be. Because as you go deeper in, you go farther out. So allow yourself to feel the vibration, the clarity that comes with self-honesty, knowing yourself, the certainty, the conviction of who and what you are. Not the insistence, but the conviction of knowing who you are more truly, more clearly. Feel that vibration, because it's a vibration of freedom, of absolute freedom to be who you truly are, to take away the limitations that hold you back, that are based on fear, that are based on assumptions, that are based on insistence, that are based on the idea that there is only one way. There is your way, and there are other ways, and your way is the way for you. But that doesn't mean someone else's way is your way, or the only way. Allow yourself to feel that vibration of freedom that comes with honest self-awareness. And allow yourself to feel the vibration of integrity, that which binds you together, that allows you to understand the vibrations within you and how they exist and can exist without conflict. Even those that might seem to be polarized can be seen as two extensions of the same source in the center, can be seen as the power of paradox, for they all live within you. And with honesty, you will create an ability to bond together those that are in harmony with one another in a way that validates all the beliefs in their own way, without you necessarily having to experience the effect of the ones you don't prefer. The integrity allows you that position of neutrality, of neutral observation. Feel that energy of neutrality that allows you to examine anything without necessarily energizing it into an experience, but allows you to validate it all, because everything you've ever experienced has brought you to where you are now, both the positive and the negative. So the more you relax and validate it all, the easier it will be for you to move forward with integrity in the ones that you prefer, the beliefs that you prefer, without invalidating the ones that you don't prefer. And you will move forward as an integrated, integral being with honesty and clarity and freedom. Feel that vibration and feel those two vibrations blending together to allow a bigger sense, a greater sense of release and freedom. And then feel that vibration of gratitude, of appreciation, not only of all that is and everything in existence, but of yourself, for you are worthy, or you wouldn't exist. The gratitude for your life, for your experiences, for all that you have experienced, for all that you have learned, for all you have yet to learn. Prayer is simply gratitude for what is, for having been given the opportunities you have been given, the challenges you have been given, the themes that you chose to explore. Be grateful and appreciative for it all, and feel that specific vibration of gratitude, of love, of support, of nurturing. For even as you allow yourself to appreciate yourself, you will experience more the deep appreciation and support and unconditional love that is emanated throughout all of existence by all that is. It is the primary frequency of all that is. Allow yourself to feel that knowingness of your value, your validity, your worth, and appreciate the gifts that you have to give and the gift that you are to all that is as a reflection of it, so that it can be all that it is in all the ways it can be. Feel that vibration of gratitude and deep appreciation and unconditional love for yourself and for everything in all that is all that is, including you. And let those three vibrations blend together harmoniously as a musical equation, as an energy equation that is building and building and building within you, and allows you to feel the idea of your freedom growing, expanding more and more, releasing you from belief systems that are not yours. The acceleration that comes with this, the expansion, the sensation that comes with this, moves you toward the final part of this particular formula, this orchestration: humility. Remaining centered, remaining grounded in all of this. For the appreciation will help you with this. The integrity will help you with this. The honesty will help you with this. For there is no need for the ego to be stressed, to become negative, thinking that it knows everything when it doesn't need to. When you can rely automatically on the synchronicity and know that things are working to your advantage if you simply allow them to. So it is the humility of allowance rather than believing you have to make everything work. It is the humility of simply allowing it to work in the way that it exists, of not attempting to control everything, manipulate everything into position, but truly going with the flow, since you know that your flow knows exactly where you need to go, and that you are cared for, that you are supported, that you are nurtured unconditionally. You can be then in your humility very powerful as a being, and very attractive as a being. And of course, by humility, we do not mean in any way, shape, or form that you are disaffecting yourself, disavowing yourself, that you are putting yourself down, that you are being a martyr. That is not what humility means. It means simply knowing who you are, being who you are, being grateful for who you are, and just acting in that stead, in a grounded way that allows you to be the link in the bridge between above and below, to be a reflection and a representation of the gift and the reflection that you are of all that is. Humility is simply nothing more than being yourself and not needing to be anything more or less than that. It is just being here and now in the present and allowing yourself to experience all that that present has to offer you. And then reflecting that and sharing that in whatever way is appropriate with others without needing them to in any way, shape, or form align or believe as you do. Knowing that everyone has their own path and that you are being of service by being yourself. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes. And with this fourth harmonic, you feel the freedom of release, the flow of your life coursing through you, and the knowledge and understanding that you are made of light, that you are made of love, that you are a reflection of all that is. Breathe this in. Anchor it within yourself, ground it within yourself. so that you exist on high, so that your vibration rises to the heavens, so that the heavens may unfold within you. As above, so below, and it is all one. It is all here. It is all now. It is all that is. Be gentle, be kind, be loving, be giving, and be yourself. Do not give your power away. Decide and choose what is true for you. This is your greatest freedom. And these 4 states of being combine to give you more ease with that freedom to choose. So we thank you for getting high with us this day of your time. Continue to soar, spread your wings and fly. Our unconditional love to you all. And we bid you an exciting day as you gently return, but to a new reality, breathing it in, breathing it out, as a new person on a new day, in a new world, in a new reality. You exist, and that's enough. Be yourself, and that's enough. Relax and float. You may lower your music, lower your lights, and just be with yourself, and be with all that is, and be with all others, here and now, in gentility, and kindness and love. And just float. Float freely. And let the overall harmonic of the freedom that you deserve radiate from you to all, so that they may also pick up on that vibration, and if by choice, join in that frequency and allow themselves to also be free of their fears and limitations in any way, shape, or form that hold you back from being who you truly are. Continue to breathe easily and gently in love and light. We welcome you home. Good day.